I feel very weird, talking about this, but I feel like I've sort of got to, because this once again gets to cover two of my big sort of topics of interest. I'm very interested in politics. I like talking about politics. I like reading about it. I like watching other people talk about it. I find it really, really interesting to see talked about, discussed, and of course, politically in action as well in our own House of Commons. But of course, also, as you may have already know, I'm a massive nerd. I love sort of Star Wars. I'm massively into anime, and of course, I like reading manga as well. And of course, I am probably one of the many, many people out there who are into anime and manga. You cannot have heard of the absolute, absolute sensation that is One Piece. But first of all, why are we talking about this on what is essentially a channel mainly about politics? Well, that's because One Piece seems to have really recently kicked up a large, large stir from one Hassan Piker. And he has been talking about the actions and, of course, some of the events that go on in One Piece, and has talked about how the author clearly is a sort of, he talks about him as an ally, someone who is potentially a socialist. He's got like a picture of like, Che Guevara up in his office. Even some of the themes that run through One Piece are very sort of progressive and socialist, and things like a sort of a native rights activist as well run through certain arcs and chapters in One Piece. And this has really sparked, once again, a discussion going on in the massive sort of nerd geeky sphere of, oh, please keep politics out of our X or out of our video games or whatever. But as I've always said, look, politics is everywhere, like it or not. And as we've always said, look, politics does indeed affect authors, the way they write, and of course how they perceive certain situations, and even in their own work. So we're going to have a talk about this, because to be honest, I think being able to mix these two things might be quite interesting, maybe even illuminating quite a bit. So we're going to have a talk about One Piece, socialism, and politics today, which is quite unusual because I never thought I'd get to do this type of video on this channel, but here you go. So as always, before we do get into and sort of talking about this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, as always, thank you very much to those people who do help and support the channel. Like I say, down below, there's the Patreon page. There's the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. There is the YouTube thank you button. And of course, there's the Pony Club down below as well. All would do help support the channel. And of course, you can just help this channel by, again, if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And of course, if you hit the like and share button, that helps out as well. So, first of all, for those who don't know, what on earth is One Piece? Well, it is probably one of the longest running manga adaptations out there. For those who don't know, manga is basically comics, but essentially, if I call it that, everyone who is into manga will absolutely jump upon me saying it's nothing like comics. But essentially, you've got to remember, I'm describing this to an audience that isn't really familiar, so it's easier just to use those terms. So do forgive me if I do use some terms which should we say more familiar to a non audience who aren't very sort of familiar with these terms and terminologies, and maybe the differences sort of between them. So do forgive me if I do use some terms. So there you go. So what is One Piece? And more importantly, what is the story? Well, it's about as you can see, the guy in the black hair with the red shirt and the yellow sort of belt that's wrapped around him. That guy is called Monkey D. Luffy. And he is the main character of One Piece, and he has the objective and the dream, and the entire sort of story revolves around him. He's the main character, but there's, as you can see, that's a large cast of characters you've got there. That is the Straw Hat crew. That is his pirate crew, and his entire dream is to essentially become the Pirate King. And even in Luffy, according to him, the reason why he wants to be the Pirate King, or at least one of the reasons to become the Pirate King for him, is to be essentially the most freest person in the world. Now, the One Piece world and the universe itself by Oda has been incredibly built up. There is a lot of lore, backstory, other events that go on this that just don't involve sort of the main character. And of course, in fiction, as we've said, some of the best fictional worlds are when the authors explain stuff that is going on that the main character has very often maybe caused as a consequence of their actions in other areas, which have ripple effects, which affect the entire world. Or in some cases, something else will happen in the world, which will have, again, ripple effects, which end up affecting the main character in some way, shape, or form, or maybe not even affecting the main character. But why has this manga become such a topic of discussion in recent times? Well, this is mostly because of a guy called Hassan Piker. He's a big Twitch streamer, very big in sort of the politics, and he went on to a anime podcast. Although he said this before in his own stream, but he went on to an anime podcast called Trash Taste, where he basically said that, look, One Piece is socialist, and I have to agree, it is. And from many also aspects as well. Luffy is a terrorist. He is absolutely a terrorist. He fits all the definitions. Like I say, his profession, he is a pirate. His objective is to become king of said pirates. He has attacked government facilities. Remember, in the One Piece world, which you haven't explained, most of the world is covered in water, in giant oceans, which basically means most of the world is very much dominated by small to sort of large islands. There is a big landmass, but even then, this is dominated by a world government. But mostly, you see these towns run, especially the larger islands that we've seen in the in the manga, have very much been all run by kings and queens. And of course, not all of them have been, shall we say, good. Luffy has overtaken twice now, at least overthrown two kings. He overthrew Warpole in the Drum Island arc, but he also threw Don Flamingo in the Dressrosa arc as well. So Luffy overthrowing government backed states and sponsored governments by the world government. Of course, they keep a big military arm, which are the Marines. Luffy has attacked Marineford, which is sort of the heart of the Marines' power. It's their main fleet base. He's attacked Entes Lobby, which is probably the equivalent to like the Hague in our world. He's attacked Impel Down, which is again the big government prison in this. He's been involved in wars. He's attacked government agencies. He's attacked government working officials. So again, there's a lot going on in the world of One Piece. So I am doing it a very, very much disservice. So if you are sort of interested, reading One Piece is a pretty good time. There's a lot of stuff going on in One Piece. It's very good, but it is very long. I will warn you now, but it is very good. But it's not for the faint of heart if you want to say something short, but it is very good. But this has been really kicked back against people mostly who are readers of this, mostly because unfortunately in sort of the geek sphere, there are all unfortunately a lot of reactionaries that have taken a dim view of this. They've said, oh no, you're making this too political. But here's the thing, in One Piece, a lot of politics takes place in that world, most of which our main character has no influence over, but he has done things which have had political ramifications in that world. And so to say that the world of One Piece isn't sort of influenced by outside politics, by its writer, by current events, by a ton of stuff that has gone on is completely and absolutely false. One Piece is sort of very socialist. It does have a lot of socialist themes running through it. There is a massive revolutionary army in there that wants to overthrow the world government that's going on, wants to sort of change the system, because the system and the world government is run by the celestial dragons who perceive themselves as gods. They have slavery in the system. Luffy once punched one of the celestial dragons because he was involved in the act of, doing slavery, essentially. So there is a lot of stuff going on in the One Piece world, which does sort of say that, hey, this is pretty socialist when it comes to it. And there's a lot of themes and ideas that go in there which do mesh with that. It is very political. And of course, this has upset a lot of the reactionaries who say, oh no, keep your politics out of our video games, whatever, etc. It's very sort of reminiscent of the Gamergate days. So we'll see what happens in this. But yeah, I agree with Hassan. Look, Luffy is a terrorist. I like One Piece, but I agree. If you look at Luffy from again a certain standpoint, Luffy is a terrorist. He's a pirate. He's done many things against the world government. And again, it's not like the world government itself is good. We've seen many times the world government oppressing people. We've seen corrupt Marines. We've seen them at one point try to, of course, censor the press and take control of it. They tried to sort of kidnap Big News Morgan at one point. Again, that's the guy who runs the entire press in the One Piece universe. But they were unsuccessful in that. So again, like I say, there's a lot of stuff going on in here, and to say that One Piece isn't political is completely wrong. And you can read into One Piece a lot of very left-wing views from this, a lot of stuff that goes on in the world, even sort of the main character of what he does from time to time. So yeah, bizarre that I got to sort of do a video like this, but hey, I thought why not? So yeah, that's One Piece. It is socialist. Luffy is a terrorist. He's also a freedom fighter in certain aspects. He is not a hero because he himself has said he is not a hero. He thinks it's kind of a boring thing to be. He would much rather be a pirate, and of course, his ultimate goal is to be king of the pirates. So yeah, that's One Piece. So, and more importantly, sort of the politics going on and around it. So it's a very interesting discussion. Of course, I wouldn't be surprised if this has discussions going on down below in the chat as well. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.